We got to do our parked in a barn thing. All right, here's an engine problem here. Engine performance problem. The TP sensor on this 98 Chevy pickup reads 0 volts at all 3 terminals. Right, here's your throttle position sensor. You're getting 0 volts at all 3 terminals. Everywhere you check, you see 0 volts, right? All right, with the TP sensor disconnected, you unplug the sensor and the key on, engine not running, the TP sensor terminal B reads ground, but terminals A and C do not read ground or voltage. Okay, so you don't get, this one here reads ground, right? But you don't read ground or voltage here or here, right? With the key still on, a reading is taken at pin 24 on C2. Right?
Yeah,
that one here. See that? Alright, and there's no voltage. The reading is taken at pins 12 on C3, and there's no voltage. You got no voltage here. You got no voltage here. Now, you remember, this is the one that changes when you move the throttle. So we didn't have any voltage here. We never need voltage there. This is taken at pin 23 on C2. 4.6 volts is present. Alright, pin 23 on C2. You see that? We see 4.6 right here, but we got nothing right here. And you were saying what?
I said the VCM is faulty.
The VCM is faulty, what? But
you're getting, if you want to get no voltage at any point, VCM is faulty or don't have a good connection. Or
you may got 4.6 here.
Yeah,
what is that 4.6 there telling you? Your pen fell apart.
I know, you see that?
Yeah.
Let me help you with that. All right.
That's the engine coolant temperature sensor.
No, basically, you're reading 4.6 right here. All right, and so, should you read, in other words, basically, all right, see if you're reading, if reading is taken at pin sequence, what should you read right there if the engine coolant sensor is plugged in?
Shouldn't be 5?
Well, no, not really, because you're going to have, if you've got a 2-wire sensor, you're only going to have 4.6 volts when the sensor's unplugged. You got me? On this one here, you should read 5 volts right here. We should be reading 5 volts right here, a ground right here, and this right here, if the sensor is plugged in, we ought to read whatever that is. Like it's going to be like, depending on what kind of car it is, if it's at GM, usually like half a volt to 4.6 or something like that. So, anyway, just think about that. This is what I'm trying to give you guys a little bit of a heads up on that. You know, and I would say, just based on what I see, I'm bothered by the fact that I'm seeing 4.6 right here. If this is plugged in, that bothers me. Because I think this is open, but I don't get any voltage right here, so that leaves me thinking VCM is faulty. So I got 2 things going on. Gray wire, circuit 416 is cut, open circuit between C3 and TP10 sensor A. What's that? Sensor pin is what I'm trying to say. C103 has a push factor damage pin, you know. So if this right here, if you're reading the ground right there, that means this wire would have to be cut, is what I'm thinking. If you're reading 4.6 right there. And you've also got a problem inside. So that's like you got 2 problems. You know what I mean? That's like when Kayla replaced that little control thing on that edge, and we had to, you know, because what she was doing on that radio, it would just do a lot of searching for stations and it would never get one. It's automatically, she's just driving down the road and randomly start searching for stations, wouldn't find one. And so she got to, I says, fool with that thing and see if you can tell, because it makes a little click when you do it. She said, it's clicking whenever I'm not telling it to do anything. I said, well, we need to replace that panel. You know, that little front panel that's got a knob in the middle of it. So they did that. And then we hit search and it wouldn't find a station. And I said, well, I don't think it's fixed. So when we took it back to her, she says, it never searches by itself anymore. So that means they found the panel was a problem, but the radio was also a daggone problem. So you had 2 problems. Sometimes you can have problems that are stacked. And sometimes that's why whenever I'm throwing a bug at y'all, I may make an engine misfire for about 4 different reasons.
That Ford had, had 2 problems.
Except you didn't ever get the Bronco started. Did you what's that on me? Or what? Okay. All right, let's keep going. Ground measured here. Neither ground nor any voltage measured at A or C. All right. All right. A colleague of mine called me about, I told you about a VW Beetle she drove in high school. And she was really excited about it. This thing was sitting in a barn, right? All right, on her property, and she said, well, we're gonna get this thing going again. And I said, I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. It's been sitting there since you were in high school, because she's almost as old as I am. I said, the motor's locked up, the brakes are locked up, you're not gonna be able to get it to even roll, the tires are dry rotted. You're gonna spend more than you would spend getting a new car, getting this Volkswagen Bug going again. And so she went out there and they tried to move it around some. Sure enough, everything was locked up on it. You just may as well drag it and throw it in the gully. You know, I mean, you can spend a lot of time on it. Now, this is my Uncle Earl drinking coffee at my dad's Volkswagen shop in the 1960s. That Earl, that wasn't him that was on the shop, but my dad was on the shop. All right, so she figured she and her husband were going to roll that old Bug out of the barn. Didn't happen. Everything's locked up. Just like I said. This was my Doom Buggy. I had that thing, I love that thing. I paid $150 for it. We slammed the motor in it. And I rolled that thing. I jumped terraces on that thing and drove it all up and down with my brother and sister.
You drag race?
Huh?
It's got some slicks on it.
Yeah, well, there were slicks on the front. But anyway, this knothead come by here and he said, what do you take for that Doom Buggy? I said, well, I had to have $400 for it. He put $400 in my hand, drove that thing away. I didn't even want to sell it. I just made a big price in my mind, you know. I mean, of course, in those days, gold was worth $62 an ounce, you know, so think about it. All right, so anyway, that's what a Volkswagen engine looks like.
The old box remover.
My 70 model Ford pickup, I purchased and drove a 70 model Ford pickup from a guy that found it sitting in a barn. He told me he put a battery in it, got a tag for it, and drove it for a few months before he sold it to me. And I sold it to somebody else, but it ran well, they don't look rusty and junky. You know what the kiss of death is when somebody tries to, when somebody's selling you a vehicle? Was it when they say, I'm not a mechanic? What are they really telling you when they say that? They're saying, this thing has got problems, but I want you to think I didn't know about it. That's what, so when they tell you that, that's what that really means. That really means, this thing's got problems, so you can't blame me if you find a problem with this because I'm not a mechanic, I don't know. You know what I mean? He said, that's what this guy was saying when he sold me the truck. He said something about it, you know, I'm not a mechanic and all that kind of stuff. And then I said something about a U-joint, and he started telling me how to put a U-joint in. So I mean, he knew more than he was able to know. Well, back in '72, I was at a friend's house when his dad and his brother dragged a '53 Ford, looked just like that one, as if it was a darker green color, out of his late grandmother's garage. It was covered with dust, been sitting there for years. And the car was only 19 years old at the time, equivalent to 98 miles a day. But we hooked a piece of rope to the front of it, and we pulled it down the road, popped the clutch, and that thing started. And ran good, and all that. So that was, you know, sometimes you get away with that. Here's a really nice looking parked in a barn truck. 2003 Chevy Silverado, 4.8 liter engine. No wonder they wanted it back on the road. It's a nice truck. You know what I mean? All right, so came to us with the barn for years, 7 wrong. We reported to have rat damage. It started, but all it did was idle, and it didn't do that very well. There was a reduced engine power message displayed in the cluster, and there was no throttle response, but the rat damage we found on our first pass was minimal. Only thing the rat had used was the knock sensor wiring, which is that's coming off the manifold, going back under there on that side, you know, a little blue wire, black wire thing. All right, so critter damage. This lady over here had an Explorer. Look at it. Me and Alan Cobb's nephew's car had when we opened the hood because it was over at credit union and wouldn't start. We opened the hood and found a bird nest in there with eggs in it under the hood. I'm sure they were fairly hard boiled because it had been so hot under there. But this lady's strategy to get rid of the critters that kept eating her wires, we put that little rat poison up in there, and the next day she came and found they'd been eating on that. But they'd been chewing her wires up so bad, and critters would mess it up. My Ford pickup one day, I found out the critters had eaten it. I got under there and I went to start the truck, it wouldn't start, and I opened the hood and I got to looking around there. Well, first I checked the voltage at some of the sensors and they were reading 9 and some odd volts, supposed to be reading 5. And when I was looking at it, it had ground wires that chewed into. But one wire that could kill that whole truck, that thing chewed into. So I had to fix all the wires. Well, one of my guys works at the Ford dealer, he found critter damage on a brand new vehicle, less than 5 miles on it. It's a brand new truck. All right, it hadn't been in pre-delivery. The knock sensor harness was chewed to under the intake manifold. All right, so this Trailblazer water pump broke both. The 2004 Trailblazer came in a leaky radiator, rattling noise, turned out to be a bad water pump. A 6mm bolt can't handle the torque of a new 3/8 air ratchet. You got that? 6mm bolt's a little bitty thing. And so these guys popped one off in there. Right out here, on this service bay, right here. So the radiator removed and the grill out of the way. It's a Trailblazer like yours. And I said, drill it out. Let's center punch it first. And so center punch it first. We're going to drill in there. And you remember when you drilled one Sierra and you took it easy out after it and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, so he drills in there. these guys trying to drill it. Jonathan was one of the people. And so he says, Jonathan says, you got a sorry drill bit here, this thing won't drill. And the other guy says, I can't get this drill bit to cut into this bolt, you got some sorry drill bits. And so I get down, and so they both had to go to their afternoon jobs, you know. And so I sat down there on my little padded stool, and I got the same drill bit and the same drill, and I just applied some pressure and got a little patience, and I went on right up into that bolt, drilled a hole up in it, and I brought it out with a, and then I sent a little private message that, hold on, hear this, use a different drill bit. You know, all I was trying to do is get you guys to apply a little muscle. You know, Jonathan always feels like you fix everything with a hammer. But anyway, that's what it looks like when you screw one out of there, when you do it the right way. So, anyway, they accused me of using a better bit. Well, here's a discovery on the reduced power. My guy discovered the throttle control module was offline. Now, the throttle control module is mounted over there where the cruise control module used to be mounted on those trucks. And whenever Ford went with the electronic throttle bodies, you know, the electronic throttle bodies, what they did was they went with a Black Oak processor that had a lot more processing power, because when somebody's giving a gas and the throttle is going to move, you need any instantaneous. You know, you can't have anything that's going to have lag time. It ain't like playing a video game, you know, because if you're trying to apply the throttle. Well, this thing right here is mounted right over there where the cruise control module used to be, and it interfaces with the engine controller, and it actually has got really fast processing power so it can open the throttle. And Chevrolet, you know, started popping electronic throttle bodies on theirs back in the day. You know, back, I think in 2001 or something like that. So anyway, this little box takes input from the 3 redundant accelerator pedal sensors. Most of the time, you're going to have redundant sensors when you've got accelerator pedal. You know, we got electronic throttle body because they want to make, it's like military grade stuff. You know, military stuff's usually got more than, you know, like 3 hydraulic lines going to every actuator and all that kind of stuff in case one of them gets cut and all that. So this one here, you want to make darn sure these sensors agree that the blade, you know, so before it starts moving the blades. Now there's also a sensor, a throttle position sensor built in there, so it'll know where the throttle is. And it's like you were saying the other day, that thing doesn't just drive this open and let the spring close it. It drives it open and it drives it closed. And if you've ever got your, now one of the things you don't ever want to do with electronic throttle body, when you're cleaning the throttle body, don't push that open with your finger. Because if you push it open with your finger, when you start it back up, you may find out this darn thing don't work right no more, and you do $400 throttle body.
Didn't you say something about one of the dual enrollment students in Geneva doing that?
I did over there in Drew. He did that. He actually come over here and said, you know, he says, my throttle body don't work right. I said, did you open it with your finger when he was cleaning it? He goes, yeah. I said, did I tell you not to do that when we were doing engine performance? He goes, yeah. I said, now you're going to need a throttle body. So he went and got a throttle body. I never heard from him since then. But anyway, something else that can happen, if the key's on and this thing tries to close the throttle body and you got your finger in there, it will cut your finger off. So keep your fingers out of electronic throttle bodies at all times. So if you want to clean the throttle body on one of these, have somebody get their foot on the gas and open it. Hold it open, and then use your toothbrush to get in there. Because it won't matter if that thing closes and cuts your toothbrush off. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I need to do without that. Do it there. Anyway, so we talked to the PCM on a painfully slow UART link, but it's a fast box. So the ETC ECM fuse was blown to smithereens in the induction box. That would explain why the ETC module was down, but when we started a new fuse and powered it back up, boom, we got a flash bulb. You ever seen a fuse do that? Pop! When you stick it back in there, just suddenly pop. This could be the result of the damage we missed on the first pass. Maybe we missed it the first time around. Alright, this is not too terribly complicated. Pin 6 is not shown on this schematic. Schematic readings show one power, one ground. Both of them lead to the C1 connector. Pin 15 is hardwired to ground. Pin 7 receives power from the fuse. There's going to be pop test on this tomorrow. You got to remember all this. Alright, so vaporize. It would vaporize the fuse when the module was plugged in, but would remain unblown with the module disconnected. So if we disconnected the module, the fuse would blow. What did I tell you?
Bad module.
Got a bad module. Alright, so there's your ground right there. That ground. Well, I find that right there. That's pin 15. Right? See that ground? Pin 15? Alright, now on that one there, so here's your power coming out on that pin. Ignition 1 voltage. Alright. So which pin is that? 7 right here, right? See? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And all that, and then all the rest of that stuff goes here. You know, the throttle body and all that. Found another grounded pin in the number 6 cavity, but it turns out it's connected to the high mount stop lamp for the purpose of canceling the cruise. It knows to know when you're hitting the brake so that it can drop the cruise, right? This right here is what gives you your cruise now, because it operates a throttle plate. Because you don't have a cruise control module anymore. All right, so this is what that is, you know, so your throttle actuator, your stop lamp supply voltage. You can actually go and find that here, but it wasn't on that previous schematic, and I noticed, so if you're looking for something like that, you know, on some of these schematics, you gotta jump around and say, well, why did they wait and put it over there? One time, when I was working at the Mazda dealership over there in the early 80s, I was looking for an oxygen sensor for a 626, and Sam looked and looked and looked and looked and looked in the parts room trying to find it, and when he finally found it, it was in the body book, where you buy fenders and stuff. Why they put the oxygen sensor in the body book, we don't know. All right, there were no other grounds. We needed a C1 connector, and since the short went away, it was box unplugged, the box had to be internally shorted. Why that happened when the truck was in the barn and the rats were chewing on it is something of mystery. You just assume the rats chewing is why the truck is doing what it's doing, right? All right, so I go by the salvage yard on the way home, got a used replacement module for 30 bucks. That resolved the reduced power message and the non-responsive throttle issue, but the truck still ran awful, and we had to find out why. Maybe we did have some hidden rat damage. You ever seen rat damage chewed, you know, with injector wires chewed into or something like that? If you've been around cars very long, you've worked on them very much, you're going to see rat damage, squirrel damage. I think it must have been squirrels that ate mine because we don't have rats around the house. But there's a ton of squirrels out there. 677,214 squirrels last time I counted. All right. We got a misfire on cylinder 6 and a set of spark plugs. Didn't change a doggone thing. So what are we going to do now? Every cylinder was bouncing around 120, but the non-firing one wasn't any worse than the rest, and 6 never hit a lick at any speed when the engine was running. All right, there's your pulse average on your misfire, correct, cylinder 1. You didn't have any misfires there. Cylinder number 6, popping a lot of misfires. All right, swapping coils didn't move the misfire either. Move a coil from one to the other. So this one here got coil and air plug, the little short plug wires, you know. All right, so with intake smoke test revealed nothing in the way of an intake leak. If you got an intake leak, it's right there by an injector, it'll miss on that cylinder. Like got a bad O-ring thing. So if I ever decide to make one run bad, I'll pull an O-ring off the injector and put it back in there so that you're leaking a lot of air around that injector, you have a misfire on that cylinder. So think about that. All right, dynamic compression test might be a good idea. We decided to go one more test before going that far. We got our electronic fuel injector tester, a little adapter that I built right here. I don't know, that would fit in the injector. Time to do an injector flow test. The rats weren't as much of a problem as we had originally figured they would be. They only had chewed 2 wires on this one, and that was one of the NOx sensors. And using a little $100 electronic fuel injector tester, we watched the fuel pressure on each injector during a 500 1 millisecond pulses and found injector number 6 was flowing no fuel at all. Now, how would you be able to find that? You've used that tool, haven't you? And did you find some?
All of them are dropping like 2 psi.
Yeah, 2 psi. They usually drop them if they're healthy, depending on how many pounds for. See, fuel engineers measure fuel by pounds. They don't measure by gallons. They measure by pounds per hour through an injector. So keep that in mind. So $80 later, the Silverado was idling and driving smoothly. Just smooth as silk. All right. So what would this cost? What am I holding in my hand there?
Cool.
Okay. Now what would that cost? What do you see wrong with it?
That pin's been up, ain't it?
Okay, and so the pin's been up, so
It wouldn't cause it to run right.
because of misfire on that cylinder. That's going on for that one there. Here's something most people don't even know. On this little pulsation damper, it's got a screw right there. You don't put a screwdriver in that screw and turn it. It's for another reason. It'll show if they got pressure. If it doesn't have any pressure, it'll look like that. If it does have pressure, it'll look like that. Oh, now that little engine out there on the stand, it's got a little plastic cap over that fuel pulsation damper. Pulsation damper is there so you don't hear the clicking of the injector to the fuel rail. But if you look at that little screw, when you turn on the key, if you see that screw move, all you got to do is with your eyeball, you can tell if you got pressure. But you can have water pressure if you've got water in the gas tank. So be aware of that. But if you just want to know if you've got fuel pressure, instantly you can tell by looking at that. You can talk to mechanics at Honda, Toyota, and all these other places that have these kind of little things on them. They won't know this. And I don't even remember where I learned it, to tell you the truth. If you can't see it good, you can put your finger in there. As they turn on the key, if that screw moves, say, all right, we got 40 pounds of fuel pressure. Speaking about that. All right, here's an Expedition. Meantime, an 07 Expedition comes wheeling in with some pretty serious misfire issues. We want a fuel pump replaced before we did anything else, so we popped one in there. his reason was more or less like mine. We replaced the spark plugs only a couple of years ago, and I was surprised to find it needed another set. Those spark plugs. Now these spark plugs right here, I'm going to tell you about these spark plugs right here. These actually go on those 3-valve Fords, and they like to leave that end down in the cylinder. So what do you do to keep them from leaving the end down in there? A lot of the shops are terrified of these things. I think everybody's a little smarter now. There's a local shop over here that the parts guy mentioned to me. He said every time they do a set of those spark plugs, they jerk them out of there with the impact wrench. Yeah, hard to get to the back one. That's why we get ill on the 90-degree impact wrench we got over there. You put out a socket on it, and that was a 9/16. Now it's not a 5/8. You got to remember that. You put it in there. If you spin that thing out of there, this doesn't have time to roll that crimp back and leave that part down in there. There's a special tool. You got to get that out if it happens. And I had one guy jerk them out with the impact wrench. The only one he screwed out manually is the one that came apart. So if you jerk them out of there, you get all that. When I published that picture on my page, my Facebook technical writer page, there was one of the mechanics said, "Man, I ain't never gotten a 4 out of them without messing up the other 4." And I said, "Jerk them out with an impact wrench. It works every time. You know, you should be scared. You don't even have to have the engine hot. You just pull them out of there. You like doing that anyway, don't you?" Okay. Here's a leaking shock absorber on that same vehicle. And we got one of the spark plugs. We want to do an inspection on the rest of the vehicle. Found a shock absorber leaking back here. Leaking strut. It looked like a fresh leak too, like it ain't been leaking very long. But what was odd was it looked like it had just started leaking. It was just sitting there. All right, let's see what you know. What does this spark plug tell you?
Running lean.
Get the hydraulic stimulation on it.
Blown head gasket. Or a cracked head. Look at the rust. You pull a spark plug out and it's flaked with rust like that, what does that mean? There's been water in there. And not the water that's created combustion. If you pull all of them out and one of them looked like that, then when you tell a customer you got a cracked head or a blown gasket. You see a rusty spark plug like that? A lot of the time you're probably going to find out that when you first started it's skipping a little bit and then it quits skipping as you runs a little bit. All right, what does this spark plug tell you? And what might have caused this problem? This was a misfire.
Looks dry.
Look at this.
Oh, carbon traction.
Carbon track on this plug. Usually you'll only see this on not coil on plug, but on, usually you just see it on coil pack cars. You know, it's got like this engine here that's got coil packs. And first time I ran into that, it kind of confused me because I had never seen that before, but the spark jumps down the outside. Here's another thing. If you ever see that and you replace the plug, you better replace at least that wire because there's going to be a carbon track that matches that on the inside of the wire and it's going to come back on you. And it'll have a carbon track in the same spot, even with a brand new plug. What does this black cloud mean? Huh?
That means it's giving it gas.
That means it's running way too rich. What is that black cloud? What's the correct name for it? I'm not talking, don't say black smoke. I don't hear that. Well, what is it? What is that?
Coal.
Carbon
And blowing coal is what
No,
it's called.
carbon monoxide you can't see and you can't smell. But it will kill you. This stuff right here is hydrocarbons. When you see black soot coming out, that's hydrocarbons. Now sometimes there'll be so much of that stuff up inside the exhaust that when somebody gives it the gas a lot, there's all kind of smoke from that. That right there means it's running rich. All right, which of these is the correct cam timing mark on a 98 2.2 liter Camry? That one or that one?
One.
Wrong. 2. You'd swear that one was.
Yeah.
That one's it. Anybody that's put the timing belt on a Camry out there should know that. It's not this one, it's that one. And that seal's the one that likes to leak on those Camrys. What's this?
Yeah. What? What's it, cruise control?
Bingo. Electronic cruise control for a Ford. We used to have these that go bad all the time, and I pull that thing off just because I love looking down there. That's cool looking stuff, isn't it? And all the gears and everything. But that's the cruise control. Kudos to the guy. I think you're the first one that's ever answered that right the first time you saw it. And that's the end of the flat show. All right. Now let me ask you this. Tell me something you know now that you didn't know when you sat down.
Black smoke.
One thing you know. Huh?
Black smoke is the hydrocarbons.
Black smoke is hydrocarbons. All right.
Water bin.
Huh?
Water bin on the spark
Now the spark plug, if it's rusty and it's got flakes of rust peeling off of it, you got that. We had a Chevrolet truck that came in here one time. that was skipping. And we pulled the head off of it because it had a rusty spark plug like that. And it was one of those, you know, with the spider fuel system under it. Everybody kept telling me that's what was wrong with it. When we pulled that plug out, it was rusty. We pulled the head off and it had a big old crack, you know, right there in the head, you know. And they like to do that on those 350s, you know, quite regularly and all that. Okay. All right. Anybody got any questions or comments?
Yeah, you want to work on my cruise control on my truck?
You can do that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, mine don't work no more.
On what?
My truck.
Mine don't work either.
Nissan.
Which? Oh, the Nissan.
And my dad, cigarette lighter thing don't work.
Why you need a cigarette lighter?
No, that charges her phone. But are you? Do you know? Does the Zord blown fuse mean anything to you?
Well, at the time, I was like, don't take it. You don't know what you're doing. We're taking it to the shop. They
Well,
don't want us ever working on that.
this is not that time. You know what I mean? What you do is you pull up the schematic, you go to the fuse when he's not looking, you pull the fuse out, you put it back in. Hey, I fixed your, you know, your auxiliary power point or whatever it is, and all that. And so, but I mean, your cruise control is not that difficult. You get what you're going to do is you're going to get a voltmeter, and you're going to get between ground, and you're going to go through the blue wire to the black stripe at the module. When you put it there, you should see about 8 volts. All right. Whenever you hit the off button, it ought to go to 0. When you hit the on button, it go to 12. And then on your coast, your set, accelerate and all that, it ought to step up voltages from there.
And what if it don't?
If you don't even see voltage there, I mean, you need to check your fuses. You've also got a speed signal that comes in there. You got to be able to make sure you got a speed signal. And it also needs to see a ground on the wire that's coming from the brakes. The ground's coming through the bulb. When you hit the brakes, that thing actually lights up the bulb and that ground goes away. So if you don't see a good strong ground there on the wire that's coming from, you know, go back to the brake lights, you got issues with there. Now, there are several different things you can check on that. There's power and there's ground going to that connector. There's 10 wires, I think, going to that connector. And if you know what they are and you know what the colors are, you can check them without even a shop manual. Of course, that only happened one time when I was at Lincoln Mercury Place back in 83 or 84, whenever it was. They gave me 7 cruise controls to fix in one day. And I got where I knew them cruise controls inside out. You know, I could fix them.
Oh, do we have any of that seal stuff for tires?
Bead tiller?
Yeah.